Welcome to the podcast where we discuss all about Bethlehem and its future. I'm your host, Ryan Conrad. We're diving into the stories, ideas, and people that make our community shine. So let's talk Bethlehem. Joining us today on Let's Talk Bethlehem is Holly Campbell, a dedicated community leader and farmer who, along with her husband Tracy, made their home in 2015. From running a thriving you-pick blueberry farm to spearheading local initiatives like new Life Thrift Store and the Bethlehem Farmers Market, Holly is deeply committed to strengthening our community, and I'm excited to dive into her journey and the incredible work she's doing. Welcome to the show, Holly.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, absolutely. So excited you're here. So you and your husband, Tracy, made a big life shift moving to Bethlehem in 2015?
Yes, sir.
So what drew you here and what made you both decide this was home?
Well, Tracy and I met at the coast of North Carolina. Mm-hmm. He was a charter boat captain at the time, and I was a chiropractic assistant. And he originally is from Bethlehem, grew up here, and raised partially by his grandmother and his dad over in Hickory. But when Tracy first brought me here to visit and meet the family, mm-hmm. I just fell in love with the place. And I'm more of a mountain person than a coastal person anyways.
Me too.
Because I grew up in New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm. I
lived there for the first 30 or so years of my life. So, I just loved it here. And I told him, and he promised me that I wanted to retire here, and he promised me that we would, but the timing wasn't quite right yet, and I would have to be patient. And but that's how we met, and so
the rest is history.
The rest is history a little bit, but yes.
Very cool. Tracy was a charter boat captain, and you worked, as you said, you worked in healthcare. There was two very different worlds.
Yes.
How did you go from that to running a blueberry farm in Bethlehem?
Well, my dad was a blueberry farmer in Vermont. And when he got sick with leukemia in 2011, Tracy and I were, quote unquote, commuting back and forth from North Carolina to Vermont to help my dad out on his farm. Tracy grew up farming, so he knew a lot about farming. I wanted to learn more about my dad's operations so that when and if he wasn't able to continue, I would know something about it, be able to help him more, and perhaps, help the family sell the business when the time came. So, but we never at that time imagined that we ourselves would be blueberry farmers in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. That was not on our radar. But, it's funny because God's path and plan weaves us in such directions that we just can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And that was the case with this. And Tracy already owned some land in Bethlehem, mm-hmm. and I call it a God suddenly, and he wasn't quite ready to retire from charter boat fishing, but someone approached him and offered to buy his business in 2015. Mm-hmm. And I was more ready than ever because my dad had passed, the blueberry farm had been sold. I had an ice cream and candy store where we used to live in Newport, North Carolina, and I had sold that before when my dad got sick, mm-hmm. So that I could go back and forth. And so, I was ready, and then someone came along and wanted to buy the charter boat business, and he said, I guess now's the time. So mm-hmm. The rest is history. We migrated west, and he had the land, and when we moved here, he said, what do you think about starting a you-pick blueberry farm? And I said, I thought we were retiring and we were going to travel the world or something. He says, well, I've got to do something, and I've got this land, and mm-hmm. and I just thought it'd make a good spot for a blueberry farm. Yeah,
that's sort of, I can relate to that, like not be able to just sit still and always need to have something like to get excited about, when you
Right.
get up.
Yes.
So I relate to that a lot. But you were talking about, learning a lot from your father about blueberries. There's something to be said, I think, about being able to learn something from someone directly and they transfer that
Absolutely.
life experience to you versus just picking up a book or watching a YouTube video. I mean, both of those are still great things.
Sure.
But like being able to transfer that knowledge from him to you has probably been just paid off in dividends, like for what you're doing and at your farm.
Most definitely. And I grew up in a family business. My grandparents owned a dairy farm. They they produced their own milk. They bottled their own milk. They delivered their own milk. And my grandmother decided that she wanted to start an ice cream business as a spinoff from the dairy farm. And so she did, and I grew up in that environment and worked as a car hop at the dairy bar that she created. And she was a woman way ahead of her time, because when my dad would tell me that when he would go she would go, to conventions like in Chicago and things like that, she would be the only woman at the ice cream convention. And that's the kind of environment I grew up in. I started working at 10 years old. My grandfather being a tight Scotchman, my maiden name is Mackenzie, so
yeah, for sure, yeah.
Scottish roots there. You didn't slack off. If you had time to lean, you had time to clean, kind of thing. And he didn't treat his grandchildren any different than the other employees. You were expected to earn every dime that when you were on the clock. And I cannot say enough about that growing up experience as far as leading to strong work ethics and hands-on experience that,
absolutely,
as you say, you can't get from a YouTube video. Or, it's just ingrained in me. And in fact, I'm one of 4 children, and all 4 of us own our own business, which is, I think, pretty neat and incredible and speaks volumes of how we were raised.
That is incredible. That's really neat. So let's talk a little bit about building the blueberry farm in Bethlehem. Starting a farm isn't easy, especially from scratch. What were some of the biggest...
Especially when you're in your 60s.
Yeah. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced when opening it? It was 2018?
Yes. Okay. We did our first planting in 2015. We planted 1,500 bushes that winter, December of 2015, and the following winter we planted another 1,600 bushes. Tracy and I decided if we were going to do this at our age, we had to go big or go home, because we couldn't just plant 100 bushes this year and 100 bushes next year. And so we did everything ourselves. We didn't hire anyone to do anything. We laid all the irrigation systems and all of that. But I would say one of the biggest challenges, two challenges, when I was thinking about this and preparing for this, I would say marketing being one, getting the word out.
Yeah.
And even though in today's technological world, it's a lot easier because you have all this technology at your fingertips, it still takes work and time, and effort. And,
absolutely.
So that was one. And also, the first summer we were open, I realized the biggest difference between blueberry picking in Vermont and blueberry picking in North Carolina, it is hot here to pick blueberries. Whereas in Vermont, it was very pleasant, 80 degrees. And if it got up to 90, those folks thought they were going to die of heat stroke or something, Yeah. But so that, kind of was an eye-opener to me, and trying to figure out ways to make it a more pleasant experience. And so we added some value-added things like ice cream. We don't make our own ice cream, but we sell Hershey's brand of ice cream to hand-dipped, ice cream cones, and offer beverages and picnic areas for people to get out of the sun and shade and have a snack or, some refreshments.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I actually, this is off script, but So I have a little story about blueberries. I bought a blueberry bush, and I think you probably know where I'm going from here, but and thought, yeah, I'll just plant it over here and we'll see how it does. And it did terrible. Like it didn't. I watered it. I did everything I should have done. And then somebody looked and said, why do you have one blueberry bush? And they're like, you need at least two because they cross-pollinate. And I was like, really? And so this was way before I had like a better green thumb than I do now in my 20s, you know. So, you know, I'm almost 40. So I don't everybody make fun of me just yet because, you know, I had to grow up a little bit and learn about life and stuff. So, but beyond that, yeah, the little personal story about growing blueberries is you need to. And I don't think, unless you know something I don't, there aren't any self-pollinating blueberry bushes.
There are, and we have a variety at our farm that's considered a self-pollinating variety that was actually developed by the NC State Blueberry Research Center in Castle Haynes, North Carolina. It's called Premier. All of our species is rabbit-eye species, but the variety that we have that's a self-pollinator is called Premier. But we still recommend that, you know, you should buy more than one blueberry bush that, you know, for cross-pollination reasons. And we do sell bushes at our farm, too, and we give people specific handouts about, you know, you need to have more than one bush and not plant it too deep because that will kill a blueberry bush very quickly too. And people don't realize sometimes when they go to the big box stores and they buy a blueberry bush, it's not necessarily the right variety for this region.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. That's another problem that people face.
In selecting, like, did y'all start from seeds or did you get like seedlings or how did this start for you?
We started with bare root plants.
Root plants?
Yes, and so they were literally like 6-inch sticks sticking out of the ground when we planted them.
Okay.
So yeah, Tracy had prepared all the land, and we laid the irrigation system in the winter of 15 and in the beginning of 16, and well, actually, he prepared the land throughout the summer and fall, but we planted in December, and it was really kind of cool. I'll just tell this little sidebar story, too. So we got all the holes ready a week or two in advance, and we bought these bare root plants from a nursery in North Carolina that this is what they do. They sell bare root, you know, blueberry bushes. So, but we had created the holes to put the plants in, and we were afraid that they would collapse in before we actually got the bushes, you know, in the ground. So we took styrofoam cups and we put them in the holes. Well, about a week later, before we planted the bushes, the little plants, it snowed. And then the snow melted. And our little styrofoam cups filled up with snow, and then the snow melted, and there was a cup of water.
Oh, they were sitting in water.
So all we took the cup out of the hole, put the little bare root plant in, put the dirt around it, and watered it. All from nature.
Yeah, that's incredible.
You know, they got their first watering from melted snow, and it just another God thing. They're just like, wow, you know. I mean, it was just so cool.
I bet you up north, that's how the blueberry bushes up there were watered, from snow.
For a time, absolutely. Yeah. But you know, blueberry bushes do need a lot of water when you first plant them. To survive.
For those who've never picked blueberries, what makes them special compared to other fruits? And I mean, I know like there's lots of antioxidants and stuff like nutritional benefits, but is there anything else that's really notable for you about blueberries that you find special?
Well, one thing that we like to share is that, and it's not necessarily that makes them better, but makes blueberries unique, is that they don't, as a fruit, they don't ripen anymore or very little after they've been harvested.
Okay.
So the blueberries that you buy in the stores, for example, in the little clamshells, you know, they've been trucked from far off places. They've been commercially harvested. So some of them are not left on the bush to ripen to their ultimate sweetness. And, countless times we hear people tell us, how much more delicious our blueberries are versus the ones they buy in the store. And that's a good part of the portion. I mean, part of the reason in that, when you come to our farm and pick blueberries, you can tell a ripe one from an unripe one by the color, obviously. And the longer they stay on the bush and naturally ripen, they're going to be sweeter and have more flavor.
Yeah. So can anyone just stop by and pick blueberries? And if so, for our viewers and listeners, when are they in season? When can they come? And tell us a little about that.
Sure. Our season typically starts the last week in June. We never know exactly what day in June, but it's usually and historically about one day the last week in June. And then we're open the whole month of July and a little bit into August. But by the time the 1st of August rolls around, the ripe blueberries on the bush, the quality's starting to break down and the fruit's starting to weep, and we decide to close even though there's still fruit on the bushes because the quality and the shelf life of the blueberries aren't as good, and we don't want people to be unhappy with the quality. We're open 7 days a week. We're open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and then on Sundays from 1 to 6. People can like us on Facebook. We have a website. They can call on a local 828 number that's on our Facebook and website, and call to speak to me, find out if we're open, etc., find out about the weather, anything they want to know like that. And they can also join our email list by sending us an email saying, add me to your email list. And I always send out a blast email just before we open up, letting our customers know that it's time to come pick some blueberries.
Very cool. So what I'll do is I'll post all these links so everybody can see it, so they could get it. Get updates from the Facebook page, from your website. I'll provide both of those for everybody. And then also you can just send an email and get on the email list, which I'm going to be doing personally because I want to take my boy to pick some blueberries. He will love that. So I'd love to just get on the email list and know when it's ready.
Very good.
Yeah, that's how you do it, folks. So let's change gears a little bit and talk about the new Life Thrift Store. This is located directly across from Mount Bethel, correct?
Methodist Church, yes, sir.
And that is where the Bethlehem General Store used to be.
Right.
And now it's owned by Stumps by Dan.
Right.
In the back, he's got his operation in the back, and then up front is the new Life Thrift Store.
Right.
That's so I was going to ask you about that. How did the idea come about?
Well, I'm a member of Mount Bethel Methodist Church, and I'm also part of Mount Bethel's women's group. And our then president asked our membership at one of our meetings to come up with ideas of ways to raise money for the women's group and ways that we can reach out to the community and just grow our women's group and our local missions. And I am a self-professed thrift store junkie. Have been all my life, I think, just about. And so, but in addition to that, I was a regular customer at a Methodist church thrift store where we used to live in Newport, North Carolina. They were only open 3 days a week, and I was probably there 2 days out of the 3 every week. And they provided affordable clothing for the community, all run by volunteers. It was just a really good model, and they had been in operation for over 30 years. It was an impressive, and they'd outgrown numerous locations and grown. It was such an impressive place. And so I proposed to our women's group that this might be something that we could sink our teeth into. There was, I won't call it opposition, but what's the word? I'm like, just some doubt, I guess would be a good, that something like this would really take off in Bethlehem. But we took a leap of faith. We actually started out very small in what is now the ice cream store in Bethlehem.
Okay.
Right next to Dollar General.
Yeah, I know
that
exactly
little
where you're
location. We started out there, and we were sorting our donations at our church and carrying them over to that thrift store location. Within 2 months, we realized we had outgrown that location already. Very, very well supported by the community, and within 8 months, we moved to a larger spot, across from our church, and it's been an amazing. God has really poured blessings into this, and I enjoy it. It's my happy place. I like to call my farm is my happy place too. But I really enjoy the mission of the New Life Thrift Store.
Yeah, and I know me and my wife have personally donated a bunch of kids' toys, and just dropped them off and set them at the table there under the covering.
Right.
So glad that hopefully that all that stuff goes to a good use. I mean, and directly to that, you actively donate to those in need, correct?
We do. Part of our mission is to tithe once a quarter to another nonprofit in the community, in Alexander County in general. We've donated money to the Mount Pisgah Food Pantry, the Benevolent Office in Bethlehem. Not a lot of people know that a benevolent office that helps people with their rent and electricity exists, but it does, and run by several pastors within the community. We've donated to the school systems, a backpack program.
Yes.
Yes, and we've helped pay off lunch bills, at schools. We helped during COVID, when all the students had to have tablets and so forth. We donated funds to help students with the fee that was required to be able to get a tablet. So
that's incredible.
The Pregnancy Care Center in Taylorsville. The list goes on, but those are some of the highlights. And in addition to that, when we learn of or are reached out by someone that has either experienced loss of their home due to fire or a domestic violence situation where, someone in the family has to leave everything behind for their safety or their children's safety, we open up the doors and say, come in and shop for free. And so we help people that way too. A couple of recent stories I'll share with you. A family was burned out 2 days before Christmas, and they had 2 children.
Oh, my goodness.
And they lost everything. And we learned about that, and the contact was a grandmother, and we got in touch with her, and she said, I'm going to be honest with you. She said, the outpouring from the community has been so tremendous. Right now, the family's good, but I'll let you know. Well, a few weeks later, she came by the thrift store, and she said they were so blessed with so many donations that they had more than they could use, so they donated those to the thrift store. And then we were able to pass those blessings on to others. Our prices are so affordable, just in general, $2 tops all day long, and children's clothing is just $1 and things like that, so that's part of our mission. One other example I'll share with you.
Sure.
After Helene, of course, everybody was very interested in assisting the people further west in North Carolina. And a group of people from Virginia had gone to the mountains with 2 trailers full of generators and clothing. And already those folks had received so much in clothing that they were turning down donations of clothing. And so these gentlemen from Virginia started searching on the web. We don't want to bring all these clothes back to Virginia and disappoint the people that donated them. And what are we going to do with them? So they started researching a place that they could donate the clothing to that was a not-for-profit place and was on their route, home. And lo and behold, they found New Life Thrift Store when Googling, we met their criteria of where they wanted to go. So these gentlemen came with a huge trailer full of clothing. And we've just been able to, I think we're still sorting through some of that, actually. And they donated like 2 months ago because our thrift store is just being blessed over and over by people in the community. And we waste very little at the thrift store. We have a mission trailer that is set on our property for free by a company that does this. And if we don't have room, or if the clothing's damaged, stained, missing buttons, we can put it in this trailer. And we get paid by the pound for everything that goes in there when they come to pick it up and weigh all the goods. And then they the clothing is brought to third world countries. So very little goes to waste. If we can't use it, we try and find another nonprofit that is able to use it. So we're proud of that.
Yeah, and I'm very happy about donating our stuff there versus like going to Goodwill or some of those other places. So all this stuff goes to such a good cause in most of it, and then if the rest that doesn't is just such reasonable pricing. Right. And so and
we, to your point about toys too, all year long we save gently used or new toys that are donated, and we store them, and then a couple days before Christmas we have a free toy giveaway that anyone can come. We put it out there on Facebook, and anyone can come and shop for free for toys for their family.
Very cool. And it's completely volunteer run.
It is. Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's amazing. What a good story. And everyone out there that's listening, if you have stuff, you know where to take it now.
Yes, thank you.
If you weren't aware of it before, now you know.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to cover one more pretty big topic, and this is a discussion that I'm really excited about because I didn't know that this happened last year, and I want to do everything that I can to make sure that it's much more successful this year and keeps growing year after year after year, and that's a Bethlehem Farmers Market.
Yes.
When I heard about that, I was like, "What? That was a thing?" And I was just I was excited that we were doing something like that local, where we could go and get local produce and just have a place to go and and talk and maybe listen to some music and what have you. So in 2024, you and Tracy became market managers for the Bethlehem Farmers Market. What was inspiration behind starting that market here? Well,
we have for several years participated in the Farmers Market in Taylorsville, which the Alexander County Cooperative Extension, it's their market that they started up. It used to be where the old hospital is in Taylorsville, but now it has moved to the new building that the extension office is in. So we have been, active in going over there and setting up, but we really wanted something closer to us. And for people in Bethlehem, and I know you've told me that you've lived here most of your life, so going across the bridge is something you'd rather not do most of the time, or going all the way to Taylorsville. Because you want things that are close to home, and you could just run out to, get this or that. And so I'm one of these that I don't like to suggest something if I'm not willing to be part of the solution. And so one of the market meetings that was held after the Taylorsville market a year or so ago, I said, we really could use something a little bit closer to us and more centrally located for people in Bethlehem. I don't think, that keep them from having to go all the way to Hickory to a farmer's market, or I'll go all the way to Taylorsville for a farmer's market. We need something in Bethlehem. So Carrie, then Mitchell, she's married now, but who's the cooperative extension agent that deals with agriculture and horticulture, she said, well, if you can find a place in Bethlehem, we will support that effort. And, so then we started, Mount Bethel agreed to let us use the grassy land at Mount Bethel Church on the north side of the church. It's a perfect location on 127, very visible. We did have a very humble beginning last year as far as the vendors that were there, but this year I've partnered with several other people that I have a team now. And it's not just me and trying to, juggle many balls. So I have a team of people, including high school students that are involved in Beta and Deca clubs.
Oh, very
They're
nice.
helping me with marketing, and their young minds, have great ideas, and it's furthering my range of contact of people too, because I'm kind of new to Bethlehem. I don't even though I've been here since 2015, I didn't grow up here. So the people that are from here and know people that know people that know people, that's how you get the word out.
Yeah.
So I have also a good friend whose daughter has worked for us at the farm for a couple of years. That family has offered to help too, and they have been outstanding in getting the word out and getting. We have more applications already for this year's market than we had for vendors on the first day of last year's market.
That's a good sign.
It is, and we're hoping to expand. Last year we had a food truck. This year we want to have more food trucks. We changed the hours a little bit. It is on Thursdays. Still like it was last year, so we're not.
What's the time on that?
Yeah,
on Thursday?
it's 4 to 7 p.m.
4 to 7 p.m.
It was 3 to 6 last year, but we decided to go to 4 to 7 this year, so people can stop and pick up their fresh groceries for the week, and or talk to the vendors and ask for suggestions, or learn how to, if we have a plant vendor, learn firsthand how to plant those and how to cultivate those and make them live and not die like a blueberry bush in your backyard.
That's
just
right.
But anyways, so, you get to, and building a community and a destination for people to go. And we want to do some live music. So if there's anyone out there listening that, you have a little band or you have talent, you're, some picking and grinning jam people that want to just come on a Thursday and offer some entertainment and things that will, really help the family enjoy the experience of going to a market, and with music and food and fresh groceries that you can buy and for the weekend and things like that.
Wonderful to be able to pad in the pockets of our local farmers. I mean, and I was surprised at how many people locally are farmers in Bethlehem that grow. So that's just so exciting. I'm really glad that that's a thing.
Yes.
And
yes.
So
and it's not to
it's
take
on
away,
Thursdays.
right.
Thursdays from 4 to 7. Okay.
Right. And we hope to have music like the last hour or so from 6 to 7. That's kind of the plan right now. So yeah.
Very cool. When does the first farmers market officially begin?
This year we've set the date for Thursday, May 15th.
Thursday, May 15th.
Some farmers markets go year round, and some start in April and so forth. But through our history with the Taylorsville market, there isn't a lot of food ready, too early. There's plants, and people sometimes are looking to buy plants. But as far as fresh food that's being produced, April is too soon, and so we're mid-May. We're going to start this year, and hope to have a lot more vendors, crafts, and food vendors. And one of the rules of the farmers market in Taylorsville and Bethlehem is the food or crafts have to be locally produced. That you cannot buy things and resell them,
right?
Such as crafts or trinkets or what have you. And the food has to be locally produced. So we don't allow truck produce that may be trucked in from South Carolina or Florida, and because there's people that do that to make a living.
Right.
But one of the rules of the Bethlehem Farmers Market is it does have to be locally produced. If not Bethlehem, certainly, in the surrounding counties.
Yep. So Bethlehem, if you're listening, you know what you need to do now. You need to talk to your neighbors. You need to tell everybody about this because, this is the second year. I didn't know it was anything about it the first year. So make sure that you tell your neighbors, tell everybody about this because I would love to see this become a big success.
Yes.
And, have you, in that vein, have you talked to Bethlehem Star about maybe having an article about it?
They did have an article last year, and Angela King, that's the primary writer for the Bethlehem Star. We're on a first-name basis for a variety of reasons. But she is an amazing addition to the Bethlehem Star and very supportive of Bethlehem businesses and always looking for stories to showcase. And she did write one last year, and I do anticipate she'll follow up with, a new one this year, especially to showcase, the expanded the expanded, I can't think of the word I want. So far, all through this, I haven't stumbled too much. But just the expanded vision. Vision is a good word. The expanded vision that we have for the Bethlehem market.
Yeah. Very cool. All through this that we've been talking, I've been thinking about this in my mind, and this has seemed to be a common pattern with everybody that I've brought on to talk with, and it's that the people that have come on have, in such a special way, shared their crafts, their talents, their visions, their gusto. And their passions right. and really got connected with people that have been here for a long time, people that haven't been here for a long time. And I think you and Tracy are a really good example of someone who has come from the outside and really got in and connected with the community and just done many wonderful things like the Blueberry Farm, the new Life, and then now the Farmers Market. So it's just such an honor and privilege to be able to talk with these people because these are the people that are really giving something back to other people and providing these wonderful things for our community. So, I applaud you for that and really getting involved. And it means a lot for those things. We need these people to do those things.
I agree. And, I always tell people that Tracy and I, we make a good team because of our different strengths. And I always tell people he's the farming genius in the operation. I'm the mouth of the operation. So when you meet Tracy and I together, he will be a man of few words, but he is the farming genius behind Campbell's Berry Farm. And, he picks on me sometimes because of what I get involved in. But I like to share this story, and I think I shared this with you in the email that I sent to you. But when Tracy and I lived where we used to live in a small development, people would remember.
Definitely tell this story.
Yeah, so we both worked. He had his charter boat business. I worked in the chiropractic office, and just like everybody else in our neighborhood, we would leave our homes in the morning. We'd go off to our little jobs, and we'd come home about 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, what have you. We'd all go into our houses. Nobody knew each other's names in the neighborhood. We just were like a bunch of. Well, Tracy said it one day. He said, "It's like a development of aliens or robots or something." He says everybody just marches out of their house at 7:30 in the morning, and then marches back in at 5 or 6. And a light bulb went off when he said that to me one day. And he called them a bunch of aliens, but I say robots too. And I said, I don't want to be one of those robots. I don't want to be. We were empty nesters, so it's just the two of us. And I said, I don't want to be one of those robots that just goes off to work and comes home and just stays in my house and doesn't engage in my community and not involved in anything other than going to work. And so my first thing that I got involved with in the town we used to live in, I was a member of the recreation commission, they called it. It was a group of people that were on this recreation committee or commission to recommend to the town commissioners, different things for to improve recreation in the town. And Tracy and I, through that, we started a community garden where we used to live. So when I moved to Bethlehem, at first I told myself, I'm not going to, do too much for community stuff, but that's where my heart is and my passion is.
It's in you. That's part of you to get.
I couldn't squash it.
Yeah.
I tried, but I couldn't squash it.
Yeah.
I just didn't. Now it is part of me. I really like to try and make a difference and Lord, we need those kind of people. Yeah, but it takes a village. I might have the idea or something and throw it out there, but I can't do it by myself. It takes a village,
Absolutely.
For the new Life Thrift Store and the Farmers Market. Like I said, I might have the original idea and put my foot in my mouth or whatever you want to call it sometimes, but I just seek out people to help me make it successful. And one thing, my children, when I decided to open up an ice cream and candy store, my kids thought I was crazy. My youngest, I have 2 children, was just recently gone off to college, and my son said to me, who's the older one, that was already out of school, said, "Mom, what are you thinking? Why don't you wait till Angie's out of school?" And I said, I feel like now is the time. And I don't know if I don't try. And that's kind of become my motto too, and I would say that to young people thinking about starting a business. It's not easy. You've got to work harder for yourself than you would for anybody else. But you don't know if you don't try, and be willing to work hard. And even if it doesn't work out how you visualized it or planned it, you will learn a lot along the way.
Yeah.
And nobody can take that education away from you. And, it's not life-threatening usually. That's what I told my son. It's not life-threatening. Worst that can happen, I can go bankrupt. But I'll still be alive.
Yeah.
And I can just walk away from that and say, okay, well, that didn't work out. But I didn't want to be one of those that said, well, what if? What if I had done this? Well, I like to not do what ifs and just try.
Yeah. And I love the fact that it's sort of ending on this note, because I had Rick Calhoun in to talk about honey picks, and we had such a similar conversation about if you had any advice for anyone that are just trying to do something new or wants to, they've talked about doing this thing their whole life.
Right.
And the one thing he said was like, if I could give anybody one piece of advice, he just said, just do it. And I mean, it's not going to harm you.
I did watch part of his episode, so I remember that now.
I mean, hearing it from someone else, if that's not enough for you to know that, just go talk to that person, talk to your friend, talk to your neighbor. Just talking with people in general can usually spark ideas, and they may share an interest with you that you didn't realize that you had unless you had that conversation.
Right.
And that just comes in with networking, and talking with people. And if you have the skill and you have the desire, and just talking with other people to rally around you to give you that support, because there's going to be times when you're like doubting yourself.
Right.
For me, I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but usually it's like first thing in the morning. That's
Mine's
when I feel
in the shower.
That's when I feel like, should I be doing this? Am I doing the right thing? And then throughout the day, I gain the confidence I need to be like, I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I should be doing.
Right.
But yeah, I've ventured into many different things, and let me tell you, like there's been a lot of things that have flopped, but they were life lessons. And then I went into a different avenue, but that I never would have gone in hadn't I at least failed at that one thing.
Right. And I like to say too, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't don't think you know it all going into it.
Yeah.
You know, be humble enough to ask other people for advice and suggestions all along the way. Never stop growing that way by asking questions.
It's okay to buy just one blueberry bush.
Yes, yes, it is.
And it die, and then you learn why.
Right.
So that's just a stepping stone to being a better gardener and having that green thumb.
Right.
So
yes. So.
Well, this has been fantastic. Y'all have some homework to do. Y'all have got to get out and like the Facebook page of the Blueberry Farm, and you need to visit the website. You need to get on that email list. If you're not donating your stuff to the New Life, you should be, and you know where it is now.
And shop there. Right.
And then get ready for the farmers market. And you need to talk to everybody about that. So there's 3 things that I'm giving y'all homework to do.
Right. And I will add with the farmers market, too, we have it has its own email address now, too. So I'd like to share that. It's Bethlehem NC Farmers Market at Gmail.
Okay. And I'll put that in the video, too.
So anyone that's interested in being a vendor can send an email to that email address, and I will send a vendor application and the rules of the market. Or if you are listening and you know anyone, friends, neighbors, relatives that produce food, whether it be vegetables, eggs, any fruit and plants and things like that, share about our farmers market and support it also by shopping there.
There you have it. Mm-hmm. All right, folks. Thank you so much, Holly, for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me again, Ryan. I really appreciate this opportunity. This is part of networking, and as I told you, it was a little intimidating for me, but if nothing else, I do know how to talk. Mm-hmm. So I learned that at a young age, and you've made me feel very comfortable and welcome, and I appreciate this opportunity.
Absolutely. And I'm still trying to figure out my identity and where this is going to, but I know that it feels like the right thing to really help people network and talk and just talk Bethlehem.
Right. Yes.
So, yeah.
One thing you asked me too, leading into this too, about and I want to make this point too, and I'm sorry if we're going a little bit over, but
no.
You asked about making Bethlehem better, and one of the main thing that comes to my mind from my standpoint is recreation, mm-hmm. and that Bethlehem is growing. There's both sides of the coin as far as, some people loving that or not loving it. Mm-hmm. But within that growth that is bound to happen, I really want this community to focus on providing recreation. And if we're going to have this cluster housing that is built in different areas and approved by, our town commissioners or county commissioners, that I want to see recreation to be a big part of that development, whether it be our commissioners require developers to have recreation on the property of the development for families to participate in, or require that developers pay, if they can't have the recreation on the property, pay the county to support recreation. I'm so happy to see the Bethlehem Park being mm-hmm. revitalized.
Yeah.
When I first moved here and saw that park, I said, "Oh my goodness, this isn't a park. This is just a rundown piece of land." Quite honestly, I'm being rather assertive and frank with that.
Yeah,
but
it needed some love.
That's what our community needs, is places for families to get outside, to recreate, to make memories, mm-hmm. Not just stay in their cubicles and in front of their TVs and computers, but get outside and make memories and enjoy this beautiful mountainous air and peaceful rural living. To me, there's nothing better.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right. Well, you have it, folks. There it is. Holly. Holly Campbell.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank y'all.
Thank you very much.